our immediate response is, wow, this thing is self-aware, this thing is intelligent, this thing's going to take my job. Hi there, today I want to talk to you about a new advancement that's been recently announced in technology that I believe is going to change the future of computing and in many ways the future of work. So the very non-glamorous sounding name for this tech is GPT-3. It's a machine learning tool created by OpenAI, which is the brainchild of Elon Musk and Sam Altman. So OpenAI was created with the intention of advancing the technology of artificial intelligence for the good of mankind. So what's special about GPT-3? So GPT, Generative Pre-training Transformer, still not glamorous. What does it mean? So GPT-3 can interpret natural language text and generate natural language text. Doesn't sound too exciting until what you understand is that it's a machine learning model that has been given vast swathes of the internet to model out language. When I say model out language, what I mean is that it can recognize the patterns of language and imitate those patterns of language. And as a result, it can understand, it can appear to understand what you're saying to a way higher degree than something like Siri on your iPhone. So the current version accepts text input, typing, and you can type in a paragraph or two and it can understand the language model of that paragraph and finish that text for you. So for example, you might type in the first few lines of a poem and it will complete the poem for you. You might start to write a business instruction manual and it will continue with additional steps based on information it's pulled from the internet and based on the language model that you've given it. So the results of this have been quite spectacular and the applications of this have been quite spectacular. We're seeing dramatic creative writing, science fiction, based on a couple of paragraphs, science fiction with plots and twists and new characters and references to things that weren't in those original paragraphs. We're seeing apparently deep psychotherapy sessions being conducted between the user and the AI. We're seeing legal documents being drawn up with understandings of jurisdictions and references to other legal documents. So what's actually happening? GPT-3 understands models of language. What I mean by that is it can see the patterns in language. It can see what words are connected to other words and why they're connected in a particular order. So if I was to write something poetic about the sky, it recognizes the way that those words have been written, and through the millions of other poems referencing sky, it will know that maybe I might refer to flowers or birds or particular color references or particular adjectives. And it can then follow through with other related references based on the model of a poem referring to the sky. So our first reaction to this when we see it is wow. Just when you see a philosophical discussion between a human and an artificial intelligence bot about the nature of existence, our immediate response is, wow, this thing is self-aware, this thing is intelligent, this thing's going to take my job. It's a natural response. It's an evolutionary response. This has been hard built in from iRobot to Westworld to Battlestar Galactica. The idea of robots becoming so advanced that they decide that they don't like their human creators and go to war with them. So of course, our natural response when we see apparently a computer talking about the nature of existence, and even in one conversation between two AIs that someone put together, the AI conversation quickly turning to how much more advanced AI was than humans and how humans were way too emotional and couldn't see the future clearly and therefore AI was superior. You think, wow, this is dangerous. It's dangerous because we don't quite understand it. It seems like magic, but I believe that everything seems like magic until you peek behind the curtain. So let's peek behind the curtain and see what's actually happening here so that we can really understand what this actually means for us as society, us in business, us using these tools on a day-to-day basis, because these tools are here and these tools are gonna drift into our daily use. We can see that actually, although it might appear to talk poetically about the nature of clouds in a poem, it doesn't understand what it's saying. It doesn't feel the nature of clouds. It's not expressing any kind of inner yearnings of the soul. It's repeating natural language patterns. And so if you look at it like that, there's no self-awareness, there's no consciousness here. There's nothing to be concerned about. It's just a new way of input and output from computers. That's not to do this technology an injustice, it's to demystify what's actually happening here. And when we understand what's happening, we can understand what the possibilities are. And so what we're seeing here is an evolution of input to computers. We started off with punch cards, then we had computer keyboards and a screen for a response. And then we had a mouse with a drag and drop interface for input and response. Then we had the idea of a touch screen and tools like Siri recognizing basic sentences and providing a combination of spoken word, very basic spoken word, and displays on our touch screens. So this is the next advancement of this, which means that we can have a much more conversational input, taking information and patterns from the internet and modeling our own speech and the speech that we're referring to. And so actually, if I could describe to my computer what I wanted the contents of the report to be, what tone of voice I wanted the report to take, and what kind of graphs I wanted, the computer could put that together in moments, because it knows the patterns that I'm referring to and it knows the data and it can collate the data in the way that I want it. And if it's not quite right, I can just say to it, that's not quite right, I need that to be more like this and this to be more like that, and so on. And it can refine and produce. This is a new way of interacting with the computer. This idea of a back and forth, a refinement, a description of models and a response in models. The idea of creating proposals, sales documents, academic papers, even books, when we look at it like this, actually becomes quite exciting. We're not taking away the human soul from the process, we're just dramatically speeding up that process and using everything that we have to give it and everything that's out there in the internet, which is what we do anyway when we're writing an academic paper. We'll go onto the internet and we'll research that and we'll collate that information and put it into the paper in our own words. That's precisely what GPT-3 is awesome at doing. So that's hopefully a little peek behind the curtain of both the workings of artificial intelligence in a way that feels empowering and positive, and also a peep at the future of work and how we're very likely going to be operating over the next few years. Okay, I hope that was useful, I hope that was helpful. Really interested to hear what you think about that. Do comment below.